the history. And again, I was on a website, very interesting presentation. That is the week after. September 2nd is our black and white competition, which will be print. So the deadline, which is on our website, will be that evening for the print competition. And September 2nd, also the print competition, we are going to have as a speaker before that our own Eric Wethington from Dodd Company, talking about bodies, lenses, and flashes. Oh my, as well. So an interesting talk, and that'll be before our black and white competition. And September 9th, what we've all been waiting for. Dave Bush is coming back after 2.5 years. He's going to kick off the, for those of you who are new or don't remember, Dave Bush is one of the most prolific writers on cameras and camera manuals that there is. And Dave ran a once-a-month SIG group, a special interest group, be a different topic, usually involving Sony or Nikon or Olympus, every month. It was the first Thursday evening of every month. Very popular. COVID disrupted that. And so David is going to start those up again in October. And to kick it off, he's going to give a talk on September 9th, here this Friday night on mirrorless cameras, everything you need to know. And again, I would not miss that. Dave is the authority on all things cameras as well. So mark your calendars for September 9th. Upcoming field trips. The big one, August 14th, Whispering Acres Farm Animal Sanctuary. Kevin, the pig. Stanley and Walter, the turkey boys. Again, I can't make this stuff up. That was from their website. It should be an interesting field trip, August 14th. More details on our website. September 5th, we have field trips in between them, but just jumping to an announcement on the Cleveland National Air Show. There are a few tickets left. Saturday and Sunday are sold out. There are a few tickets still available for Monday. You can go on our website, and I have a link there for that if you're interested in those tickets. We are going to be planning for Rob Eric, as you know, who passed prematurely. We're having a celebration of life in his honor. That is going to be Sunday, September 25th at 2 p.m. in the clubhouse here. If you have any photos, anyone with any photos of Rob from previous years, just kind of candid photos, to email them to me at the address, info@clevelandphoto.org. Just get them to me so we can use them in a slideshow presentation for that night that we're running in the background. And we're going to make a little book also. And if there's any little anecdotes about Rob from past years that you have, if you could just if you'd like to share them, to just write them down and send them to me, or just bring them that evening and possibly just talk about it. And we're also going to put those in a little book. So that celebration of life is going to be Sunday, September 25th at 2 p.m. Upcoming exhibits. I want to clarify, our first exhibit after, again, 2.5 years is the Coffee House at University Circle. And the topic has been Fall for the Circle, meaning what made you fall in love with the circle. It's pictures about the circle. It is, I fear that some people thought, because I know most of us go for our archived images and think, well, I don't have anything of the circle. To remind people, Little Italy is having its festival this week, a lot of candid shots and everything. Get out and shoot. Little Italy is the circle, qualifies for the exhibit. Severance Hall, we have the field trip. Anyone who has pictures of Severance Hall, Lakeview Cemetery, I know you've been there, Coventry Road. So these are just some of the things. And of course, the Botanical Gardens as well. I know we've taken field trips there. So dig into your archives, anything that you might have. Submissions go through September 2nd. There is an upload link for the exhibit on the competitions page of our website. Items of interest this weekend, Hale Farm, Civil War reenactment, the biggest in Ohio. after a 2-year hiatus. We'll be coming back. Following week, we skip from the Civil War, several hundred years, to World War II. Reenactment, different reenactors as well, out at Conneaut. It's always a spectacle, very well done, a picture-rich environment. There are candidates everywhere. I highly recommend it. The Field Trip Photo Gallery, the links are up on our website. The website we go to, again, this is our website, this is our gallery page. I know this slide is hard to see, but on our gallery page are all the field trips. I tried right after a field trip, I put a link up. So you could view all the previous field trips, and just below this are all the links for uploading for a field trip. So after a field trip, those of you who were at Goodyear just a few days ago as well, or Lantern Mill, just upload a few pictures there as well. And again, we'd all love to see them. And field trip candidates are needed. The darkroom door has told me that they need photos of members on the field trips having fun. If they're not having fun, do not take their picture as well. But that's what I was instructed. So if you have any candidates as well of people out there having fun, Bill, you were having a blast here.
Oh, I'm sure.
As well there, shot there. It's the only pictures I had. Get them to us at, or directly to Darkroom Door Editor, DRD Editor at clevelandphoto.org or any of the cleveland.org emails, and I will get them forwarded to Deb Willis for the Darkroom Door. Fall school enrollment is now underway again. Fundamentals, Introduction to Photoshop and Photo Editing, Lightroom Classic. The fall sessions are currently enrolling, and for this first time, Pixel is giving a $50 gift certificate for everyone enrolling, every new enrollee in the course to be used for camera equipment. So sign up. The logo wear still, we're having a clearance sale. Not really, it's just that the price, last time we bought items was about 6 years ago, so the prices are still low. We haven't raised them as well. But anything you see you like, then it helps the club out as well. And finally, all of our meetings are on YouTube, so you can watch this and any of our other open meetings on our YouTube channel. So without further ado then, we are going to start our creative competition with a few words from Dan Sandy, our competition director.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank everybody for competing and actually attending tonight. It's good to see some faces in the crowd for a change. We had 3 judges. Our 3 judges, one was actually from Newfoundland, and where was the other one from? California, and then we also have a local person as well. So our 3 judges were Mary Callie, Krista McCuish, my apologies Krista, and Wendy Hess. And with that, I believe we had 93 entries this evening. We will be commenting on all of the creative competition entries, and then we will be only commenting on the pictorial that people selected to have comments on. Once again, thank you very much, and with that, I think we're going to get started.
Mary says, great tones of white, black, and gray. Everything flows naturally, leaving room for imagination. I would have left less negative or white space at the bottom of the photo.
This is whose woods these are. Dave Saborak, 23 points, honorable mention.
Krista says, the creative concept of the image is excellent from a technical standpoint. The image could be stronger with the smoke flames in focus to match the figure which can be accomplished in many different ways with flash intensity, shutter speed, and depth of field. Generally, our eyes read an image from left to right, so the direction of the figure might be better if it was pointing to the right instead of to the left, to allow the eyes to move naturally across the frame in a fluid fashion. This could add extra impact to the overall creative concept.
1930s Buick Hood Ornament by Gary Marriott, 23 points, honorable mention.
I love the colors and movement in this image, Wendy has said. That said, I feel it would benefit from a tighter crop around the lungfish.
A Little Fishy by Mike Kopkis, 22 points, honorable mention.
Mary says, very creative way to show man-made and nature-made coming together. I would have cropped it different to make it less busy from top, left, and right, cropped from the windows.
A River Runs Through It by Glenn Petranek, 22 points, honorable mention.
Krista says, the intensity of the eagle gaze and the tenacious grasp of its prey, together with evidence of dripping water from the fish, make this image very compelling. The viewer can feel strongly that this is an impactful slice of time caught by the photographer. My only question is, where did the other wing go? Caught in fog or mist, or was it cloned out by necessity?
Air Dash Service by Bob Kowaleski, 20 points.
Wendy says, nice job at conveying the moodiness and dark reach of death in the cemetery scene. While the darkness is integral to the concept here, you almost have to fight through it to really see the overall image.
An Eerie Stroll Through the Greenwood Cemetery, Darla Zajac, 19 points.
Mary says, nice composition. I like how clean it looks. The eye travels smoothly from corner to corner. If I changed something, I would crop the bottom, nothing else. Great photograph.
Burst by Marge Brady, 21 points.
Krista says, the use of color and line in this image is superb. The color palette and pattern are pleasing, with the flowers and cloth as reflected in the colander. The viewer's eye is directed upwards to the reflected Astralaria flowers and converging pattern. I might try a closer crop to hone the viewer's eye to the flowers and reflected arrangement and pattern.
Colander Reflections, Ron Werman, 20 points.
Wendy says it's a simple, very nicely done dance pose portrait. It's dramatic and very professional looking. Since it's in the creative category, I'm left wondering if the dancer was in the studio and the image layered through though the lighting goes against that. Or if the photographer reached their limit in the pictorial category and split this into creative.
Desert Dancer, Susan Bethel, 18 points.
Mary says, very creative, good composition. The bottom part is too dark. Maybe bring up the shadows a bit. I would even make the frog smaller to fit in the moon. The wing would look better inside. Maybe add more stars.
Barry Frog, Vicky Wirt, 18 points.
Krista says, the concept for the image is appealing. The blending applied to elements in the image could be improved to make it a stronger image. An example is on the right end of the log, and the model's left foot.
Barry Rose, Eric Wethington, 18 points.
Wendy says this work is what the creative category is all about. A fantastic image born in the photographer's imagination. It's fun and vivid. The editing could be smoother in several places, and I wish the area where the wings and other things, can't quite tell what those are connected to the woman's back was more clearly defined. Granted, it's a fantasy, but I'd like to take a little more clarity about what those are meant to be.
Barry Rose 2, Eric Wethington, 19 points.
Mary says, nice composition. I like how clean it looks. The eye travels smoothly from corner to corner. If I changed something, I would crop the bottom, nothing else. Great photograph.
Fans of the Beach, Bob Kowaleski, 23 points, honorable mention.
Krista says, a beautiful symmetrical arrangement of anemones and tulip. Anchoring the tulip with a more visible stem would make it appear to belong to the arrangement without free floating. When duplicating elements in images, be aware of angles of light and where you would like the direction of light to appear for a convincing artistic arrangement.
Floral Reflections 1, Gary Wood, 21 points.
Wendy says, I absolutely love the visual impact of this piece. The way the vivid colors pop out of the dark background is striking. Flowers are pretty and can be so cliched, but here they become strong visual components. The editing is really well done too. Duplicating and reversing the pink flower and placing it on both sides of the blue one works very nicely. Having the center flower off center and slightly facing to one side keeps this from looking too perfectly centered.
Floral Reflections 2, Gary Wood, 21 points.
Mary says, I wouldn't have cropped the right side of the photo. I would leave the whole petal in the frame and have the same distance that's on the left side. I'm not sure if I'm looking at the flowers or the stars. The frame feels too busy. I wouldn't add the stars. Instead, make the background darker to highlight the flowers.
Flower Fantasy, Marge Brady, 19 points.
Krista says, an interesting vintage photograph. It asks more questions than it provides answers, and perhaps this was the photographer's intent. Is the photograph an old advertisement? A photo from an old family album? If there was a distinctive focal point to grab the viewer's attention, it would make a stronger image.
Ford Restaurant, Gary Marriage, 19 points.
This is a simple, beautifully detailed image with nice color and great contrast, Wendy says. I like it, but don't find it quite as strong as some of the other floral pieces in this category.
Hi There, I'm from Marsh, by Joseph Miko, 18 points.
Mary says, so creative, lovely. The only minor change, I would sharpen the bottom half of the photo. Also, how about make it black and white to add more drama to the scene?
Hoop Dancer, by Ronald Wilson, 23 points, honorable mention.
Krista says, a recommendable photograph to represent the motion and thrill of the sport. The colors are well rendered, and the race car driver is in sharp focus, which makes for a solid image that emphasizes speed and intensity.
IndyCar, by Rich Foley, 20 points.
Wendy says this image is dynamic and very nicely done. At first glance, it gives you a feel of high fashion shot. The capture of the woman is very professional looking and works well. I know that a lot of thought went into what got added to this image, and while some of the insects add a lot to the image, I love the beetle on her arm and the butterflies. The scale and depiction of some of the other insects, the damselfly and the grasshopper, do not work quite as well, in my opinion, and I don't feel the muted jaguar adds anything. This is a case where I think a bit more simplicity would be good.
Jungle Queen, Jackie Sayuski, 22 points, honorable mention.
Mary says, very creative use of colors and elements. The right wall seems a little distracting, so I would crop it. I like how the realistic mixes with the unrealistic. I would bring up the shadows a bit in the blue and purple reflections.
Light painting in the lock, David Grimmer, 23 points, honorable mention.
Krista says, a strong creative image with an appealing concept. The full moon and reaching hands are nicely focused with great contrast and direction of light. The addition of mist or smoke in the lower part of the image and the hint of cloudy sky all add to the overall image.
Lunar Garden, Bill Keaton, 26 points, first place.
Wendy says, nice shot of a good model. The use of photo montage has been explored by various photographers, but still isn't seen that often. This is interesting in the way that the dark lines below and on one side of each part give the illusion of depth to each separate piece. It's very tightly cropped and perhaps could use just a bit more space.
Model in pieces, Mike Kopkis, 20 points.
Mary says, I would sharpen it a bit more, bring up the yellows and the green, and darken the background. The left bottom corner is a bit distracting, so I would crop it out.
Peruvian Lilies by Graham Stead, 17 points.
Krista says, a nice symmetrical arrangement in the mandala style for visual interest. The contrasting directional crisscross patterns between the background and the outer mandala give an effect of an outer and inner spinning motion. Nicely achieved image.
Ripple Effect by Melanie Plummer, 20 points.
I really enjoyed this image, Wendy said. It's clever, creative, and executed well enough to work. The only thing I could think of to change about it might be for it to have just a bit more breathing room above the camera on the top and on the sides.
Sea Lion by the Sea by Belinda Prince, 24 points, third place.
Mary says, I like the way the hand poses to flatter her face at the edit of the background. I would have left both hands in the frame, though, to emphasize her face even more. I like the painterly look of the background.
Sea of Curls by Jackie Sayuski, 22 points, honorable mention.
Krista says, this multi-layered black and white image turned visually interesting and complex elements into an orderly and cohesive arrangement. In addition, the attention to overlapping detail in the foreground and background skyscrapers make this a compelling creative image.
The Bean by Omar Jeffries, 23 points, honorable mention.
Wendy says, a nice clean shot that's perfectly cropped. It's simple, powerful, and works very nicely. I love the contrast of the blacks and grays with the colors.
The Shadow of Religion, Bill Keaton, 23 points, honorable mention.
Mary says, I like the minimalist feel of the photo. However, this photo on its own doesn't speak loud. In a series, this photo would have a voice, if that makes sense. I would darken and sharpen it a bit.
Woods in Fall by Debbie Lipke, 17 points.
A wonderful floral mandala with a pleasing color palette and symmetrical arrangement. It gives the feeling of rich seasonal tapestry, an effective and beautiful mandala.
Tulip Mandala by Vicki Wirt, 20 points.
Wendy says this is a wonderfully creative and really enjoyable to see and judge. I never expected to see Montoma falls pouring out of an old dressing table in a wrecked old room, but it works. The editing is beautifully done as well.
Vanity Overflow by Glenn Petranek, 24 points, third place.
Mary says, lovely composition, great detail, subtle color, perfect amount of light. Such a great photo. It reminds me of George O'Keeffe paintings. I would not change a thing in this photo. Congrats to the artist.
Vortex by Neil Leinbach, 25 points, second place.
The creative concept is clear, and for that it has great potential. There appear to be too many distracting elements which can overwhelm the viewer and lessen the impact of the concept. Perhaps isolating flowers with distinctive shapes with a string of lights and limiting the background would strengthen this image.
Watering Lightly by Chris Bosworth, 17 points.
Wendy says, I like the concept here and the editing is quite nice. I do wish the picture with the zebra wasn't angled and that there was less of the blue space.
Zebra, Out of Frame 5, Ronald Wilson, 21 points.
Mary says, nice hues, nice composition. I wouldn't edit it in any different way. But what is the story behind this photo?
Blue Vision by Melanie Plummer, 19 points.
Krista says, a creative and expressive image. The monochrome surface and background are engaging, reminiscent of the Stars on Ice theme. I wonder what the dancers would look like in black and white as well. Undoubtedly, the photographer also contemplated this and decided on the skin tones to contrast with the background. A thoughtful image.
Celebrate the Rain by Susan Vestal, 23 points, honorable mention.
This piece is a nicely composed, very different take on a floral photo, Wendy says. Nice colors and balance. I would like to see a bit sharper detail in the flowers.
Floral Fantasy, Chris Bosworth, 20 points.
Mary says, beautiful and clean composition. I wouldn't leave out the rest of the flower. The leaves would add more interest, I think.
Hibiscus at Midnight by Dan Hennessy, 20 points.
A delicate and ephemeral image, says Krista. The composition of colors, patterns, and lines of the leaf blades and petals make this an engaging photo of spring crocuses, a well-done image.
Purple Crocus by Debbie Lipke, 20 points.
This is a really powerful, striking image, Wendy said. The silhouette treatment combined with the vignette takes a routine photograph and bumps it up to a whole other level, making something much more dramatic.
Taking a Bow by Darla Zajac, 25 points, second place.
Mary says, good composition, but not the best edit. The highlights are way too distracting. For example, if the person on the left was not as bright, she would easily distinct from the rest from the grass, trees, and bushes.
Tumblr by Neil Leinbach, 16 points.
Krista says, a solid visual abstract that asks the viewer, what am I looking at? It is not necessary to know this with all abstract photos. This is a pleasing use of color and diagonal lines that make for a striking composition.
Uplifting by Omar Jeffries, 16 points. And that concludes our creative portion. I think what we're going to do is just take a 4-minute break, and then we'll start with the pictorials.
Oh, yeah, I always like it.
Okay, I'm going to get that.
All
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's totally objective. How could this be?
For a creative contract.
Yes.
Very cool. I like speaking.
Obviously, we're interested. We think they're like
You did a terrible thing to me. I noticed all of a sudden all your pictures were.
always like to try.
Yeah, it's fun.
But then you also
Another one.
things to learn. The finding is interesting.
Oh, yeah. You get some kind of wild cat. I think one of those pictures that I sent.
They love, and you want to,
You get
the same picture, you understand it, you
that's.
right, it gets the value. You also got to take it.
Yeah.
I worked a lot of time.
Yeah. That was, you know, like on the side, it's nice. Little trees.
I came I don't even know what
Okay, I think we'll get everyone back in. We'll get underway with our pictorial section now. And on these, we'll just be commenting on a few of them towards the end. Not all of these are going to have comments. So we'll get underway. This is 777 Leading Edge by Rick Mills. 22 points, honorable mention. This is 777 Tail by Rick Mills, 18 points. At the Ladybug Ranch, Susan Vestal, 17 points. Bison number 1 by Leslie Nutt, 21 points. Rice Canyon by Maria Diaconu. You're here, I'm sorry, you could correct me.
Diakonu.
Diaconu. Okay, Bryce Canyon by Maria Diaconu, 20 points. Busy Bee Among the Flowers by Darla Zajac, 21 points. Coast Guard Station Flags by Dave Korosek, 18 points. Erie Sunset Waves by Neil Linebaugh, 22 points, honorable mention. Fly by Graham Stead, 20 points. Gerber Daisy by Melanie Plummer, 23 points, third place. Going Left by Rich Foley, 21 points. Eileen by Dennis Wirt, 18 points. Japanese Snowbell Tree Blossoms by Ron Werman, 20 points. Lake Louise Morning Light by Donna Schneider, 22 points, honorable mention. Missing Man Salute by Joe Stefano, 20 points. My Little Darlings by Belinda Prince, 21 points. Quoddy Station Light After Dark by David Grimmer, 23 points, third place. Rearguard Falls by Donna Schneider, 20 points. Red-Eyed Tree Frog by Debbie Lipke, 26 points, first place. Remembering Mama, Dennis Wirt, 19 points. Rock Hall and Skyline by David Korosek, 23 points, third place. Storm in Texas by Joanne Damian, 23 points, third place. Swamps in Louisiana 3 by Joanne Damian, 24 points, second place. The Needle by Maria Diaconou, 17 points. White Turkey by Joseph Miko, 20 points. Wood Nymph on Gay Feather, David Saborik, 21 points. And now we'll get to some of the images that are going to be commented on.
Wendy says, this shot approaches the plane from an interesting angle and has a nice sharp capture. I also like the reflections visible in the exterior. Overall, it's a very nice image.
777 Flaps by Rick Mills, 20 points.
Mary says, great composition, in good focus. I wouldn't change anything about this photo, but maybe crop an inch from the top of the photo.
A Butterfly Named Julia by Bill Keaton, 19 points.
Krista says, this image tells a story in a documentary style of photographs, friend or foes. Aesthetically, the exposure and depth of field are good. There is the added element of lightly falling rain or snow. The setting for the story could be a little more visually compelling with careful observations and background.
Beat It by Marge Brady, 22 points, honorable mention.
Wendy says, this makes a dramatic scene with the deep, rich colors of the sky above the city. I'd like to see a bit more definition in the skyline, maybe a slight change to the angle, bringing the left side down a bit. I'm also a bit torn about the cropping because while the tree branches add some interest, the flat area on the right is fairly dull compared to the more interesting skyline and stadium. Cropping some away might benefit the image.
Cleveland Sunrise by Glenn Petranek, 21 points.
Mary says, the sky makes the photo. It gives a feeling of time going by fast. Great leading lines towards the sky make a great composition. What if you darken the sky just a bit to add more drama? Just a personal preference.
Cloud Trails by Graham Stead, 19 points.
Krista says, beautiful visualization of details and translation of lily attributes. A softer depth of field front to back works in this photo quite well. The color palette is striking also.
Daylily Fire by Vicki Wirt, 23 points, third place.
Wendy says, these fireworks are very nicely captured, but were they intended to be seen from this angle? I keep wanting to flip it to the right. A bit less black space would also be helpful.
Fireworks 1 by Maria Diaconou, 20 points.
Mary says, the blur effect adds the pictorial touch. I would have composed the frame differently in a way that the subject would be more centered, if not work a composition with the rule of thirds. Beautiful tones, though.
Great Hyacinths by Ron Werman, 21 points.
Krista says, the subject is nice and sharp and the background perfectly blurred for emphasizing movement and speed. The photographic technique used well.
Life is Just a Blur by Rich Foley, 22 points, honorable mention.
This is a beautiful waterfall, Wendy says, and the motion of the water has been caught in the image. I would like to see a sharper finish, though, rather than the haziness of the rocks, and a tighter crop on both the bottom and the right.
Mystifying by Bob Kowaleski, 22 points, honorable mention.
Mary says, great action shot and beautiful light. I would have left the branch on the left side in the frame and maybe clean off the dust. For a different look, to make it even cleaner, I would even crop both branches, leave the bird in the center, and rotate the photo to the left. Many possibilities here.
New Guy Learning to Fly, James Kennedy, 21 points.
Krista says, the soft light to this scene works to evoke a pleasing and calm mood. It gives the impression of a beautiful seaside vista to visit and draws the viewer into the composition.
Portland Head Lighthouse at Dusk, David Grimmer, 24 points, second place.
Wendy says the movement of the plane is captured nicely. It appears the image is trying to tell a story showing the windsock and woods behind the grassy area, but it could benefit from way less open space cropping at the top and left.
Red RC Airplane by Gary Marriage, 18 points.
Mary says, good composition and light. The body is posed in a flattering but also artistic way. The shadows created by her right leg adds more interest. It would look great in black and white as well. Nicely done.
F Curves by Jackie Sayuski, 21 points.
Krista says, this resembles a striking place to walk around and take in all the details. The composition could be stronger by giving the viewer a focal point to grab attention and focus on the designs of the floor and walls. The composition appears to be overexposed with distorted white balance.
Severance Hall Lobby by Joseph Miko, 20 points.
Wendy says the composition of this cat's face is lovely, and the eyes peering out from that big mass of white fur is startling in a good way. It would benefit from more sharpness and definition. The cat's eyes aren't extremely sharp, and the fur reads relatively flat due to the lack of contrast. With just a bit more contrast and clarity, this work could be extremely strong.
Snowball the Cat by Eric Wethington, 20 points.
Mary says, interesting composition. I like how the tower is framed. I would crop the bottom. The silver platform is a bit distracting. I would even make this photo black and white.
Terminal Tower Through the Lift Bridge by David Korosek, 17 points.
Krista says, this looks like a fun experiment on an otherwise nice coastal scene. I'm not sure that the combination of colors work well depending on the intention of the composition. The digital brush strokes can be a little distracting and overwhelming.
The Cliffs of Moher by Joe DiStefano, 20 points.
Wendy says this is a nice group of white pelicans lazing on the water with good definition of the feathers and bills as well as the water. The stretch grouping of the birds is a challenging composition to work with. The crop is a bit tight on the sides, yet you can't add too much without losing some of the detail by making the birds relatively smaller. I'd be tempted to go in closer instead and really focus on the details of these pelicans, even if it would mean cropping out a bird or two.
The Crescent Lake Gang by Gary Wood, 19 points.
Mary says, beautiful light and composition. I would sharpen it a bit more and darken the sky to bring up the gorgeous light on top of the mountain. Nicely done.
Touched by the Sun by Donna Schneider, 23 points, third place.
Krista says, tulips are universally a wonderful subject to photograph. This image is nice and sharp with a good depth of field and color balance. The composition could be more striking in terms of light, tonality, gesture, and form.
Tulip, Stan Hewitt by Dave Stavorak, 20 points.
I really enjoy this piece, Wendy says. It may not be a beautiful scene, but it's an extremely interesting one, with a gritty urban flair captured from a great angle. The composition is wonderfully balanced and engaging.
Under the Bridge by Mike Kopkis, 20 points.
Mary says, good composition. However, I would have left the branch out of the frame as it is distracting. Maybe find another angle when taking the shot. Subjects with rust have a lot of potential for several shots. Close-ups make great abstract photographs. The use of windows in this sold bust could be used to make a close-up photograph using the trees behind as the main subject. Lots of possibilities at this location.
Your package has been delayed by Dennis Wirt, 20 points. And that concludes our pictorial for tonight. We thank you all for coming, and this will be also up on our YouTube channel. So thank you again.